Welcome back to the channel. A bit of rant this morning. I mean, I sometimes wonder about people who go to sea. Let's be honest, if you've got the money to buy a 25-foot seagoing yacht, would you not think that safety might be a bit important? I mean, you could buy a little plotter. You'd then show up on Ship Finder and all the other ones. But if you don't want to buy a plotter, what could you do? Well, the worst thing to do would be to rely solely on one of these things. Because that's what's happened this morning. A yacht about 4 miles off Lowestoft where I live. Their motor breaks down. They're drifting. They call for help. Initially, instead of calling out on Channel 16, they call up the local marina in Lowestoft who didn't have a boat in the water that they could send. So they call for help on Channel 16. And the Coast Guard just managed to get the info off them. So they were 4 miles away on a handheld, and as most people know, the range on a handheld is because of the antenna. I mean, if you're about, a metre and a half above the water with one of these things, you're going to be pushing it to manage to get back to land if you're 4 miles out. So they've got a 25-foot boat, invested a lot of money in it, and what do? They rely on a radio like that. Well, I mean, you can buy a radio, a handheld, for under 100 quid. It's there to get you out of trouble, really. But if you go out to sea, that radio is pretty useless, isn't it, really? For goodness sake, instead of 100 quid on a handheld, spend a couple of hundred quid on a proper, higher-powered radio that you can put on aerial up high. If you've got sails, you've usually got something high to attach an antenna to. So that's going to increase your range, it's going to increase your safety, it's going to cost you a couple of hundred quid plus the cost of an aerial. So what, 250 quid? And do you know what? This morning they send a lifeboat out to go and find this boat and bring them back into the harbour. You know, really, you don't go to sea with a handheld. And guess what? The Coast Guard say to the lifeboat, oh, and by the way, the batteries on their handheld are getting a bit weak, so they might not be able to hear you by the time you get there. Absolute madness. I mean, how anybody would go to sea with a radio with batteries that go flat, it's just beyond me. 250 quid isn't a lot of money to keep yourself safe, is it? Oh, I just don't understand these people. See you later. Have a good week. Look after yourselves. Take care.